Sakshadati Ballavasham Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sansharanamanalalilaloka Pranaya-caritāmṛta Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sakshadharitena samasta shastrai Ruktastatha bhavata eva sadabhi Sakshadharitena samasta shastrai Ruktastatha bhavata eva sadabhi Prabhu priya eva tasya Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Tu Prabhu priya eva tasya Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Sansharadhamanalaliloka Pranaya-caritāmṛta Sakalana-gunarnavasya Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada Yasya prasadat nagati kutopi Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada Yasya prasadat nagati kutopi Dayam stubham tasya jasasri sandham Dayam stubham tasya jasasri sandham Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Vande Gurasi Charanarabindam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
The ones that are here so far, to the Thursday night reading and discussion of Caitanya-caritāmṛta, from the original unedited version of Srila Prabhupada's translation and purports of that highest literature in spiritual understanding in the universe. This is a very rare opportunity that we have to have the Vani incarnation of Srila Prabhupada present before us in his sound vibration in his books. And we're very much stressing in all of our programs the principle of Vani, sound, because this is the foundation of Bhakti Yoga, Shravanam Kirtanam, to hear and to chant. And it is critical that people understand this principle, otherwise they'll be misled. And this is called misinformation and deception and cover-up. Misinformation, deception, cover-up. And this has happened since Prabhupada's demise by some people who are personally ambitious for material success, using spiritual life as the means. We're going to go to a section of the Nectar of Devotion right now, if our Rupa Goswami can go to it. It's chapter 46 of the Nectar of Devotion. Such a fantastic book, by the way. Very, very enlightening. And as you can see, I'm moving towards the end of the reading. I've been on this book, Dharma Bhavana, for months. It wasn't that easy of a read, in a sense. But maybe I should have spent more time every day on it. But nonetheless, slow but steady wins the race, everyone. So keep going in your readings. Here's a very interesting, enlightening section of this book that Srila Prabhupada created the purports for, on the importance of Vani, sound vibration. And that's why we're reading it. And it's in astonishment and chivalry. And here we go, astonishment. The ecstasy of astonishment in devotional service is perceived in two ways. Directly by the experience of one's own eyes, okay, and indirectly by hearing from others. When Narada came to see the activities of the Lord at Dwarka, and he saw that Krishna was present within every palace in the same body and was engaged in different activities, he was struck with wonder. This is one of the examples of astonishment in devotional service by direct perception. One of the friends of Mother Yasoda says, Yasoda, just see the fun. On the one hand, there is your child who's always captivated by sucking the milk from your breast. And in the other hand, there is the great Govardhan, which can obstruct the passing of the clouds. But still, just see how wonderful it is that this great Govardhan hill is resting on the finger of your child's left hand, just though it were a toy. Is this not very mysterious? This is a statement. This statement is another example of astonishment in devotional service by perception. So remember, I'm just going to make a quick comment here. Prabhupada, in a lecture I was listening to the other day, he said, we are like sample Krishnas. In other words, being parts and parcels of Krishna, we have many different qualities. Like Krishna has unlimited qualities, so his parts and parcels, we also have qualities. So this is how we should understand personality. We can see it in ourselves. And then when we study from the pages of Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, we get a direct realization of how God, Krishna, is so detailed and intricate and complex. And Prabhupada said this very simply: it is impossible for the infinite, that Krishna is infinite, all infinite. So those that are small like us, we cannot ever understand the infinite. It's not, that's paraphrased. But at the same time, because of our very position, it is impossible to understand how God is infinite, infinitely powerful. Here we go. We'll carry on with this reading. Again, to stress Nilesh Shama, to stress this point of Vani over Vapu. That sound is, I've read it at the beginning, you missed it at the beginning, but I read the first sentence of this particular chapter, and it stresses hearing is the way to see, not by visual perception. An instance of devotional service by indirect perception occurred when Maharaj Parikshit heard from Shukadeva Goswami about Krishna's killing Narakasura, who had been fighting Krishna with 11 divisions of Akshohini soldiers. Each division of Akshohini soldiers contained several thousands of elephants, several thousand horses and chariots, and several hundreds of thousands of infantry soldiers. Narakasura possessed 11 such divisions, and all of them were throwing arrows toward Krishna. But Krishna killed them all simply by throwing 3 arrows from his side. When Maharaj Parikshit heard of this wonderful victory, he immediately rubbed the tears from his eyes and became overwhelmed with joy. This instance is an example of astonishment in devotional service by indirect perception through oral reception. So, a devotee, Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada quotes him, says, a devotee sees through his ears, not his eyes. That is indirect perception through oral input, transcendental sound. And as you know, Ram Raghava, being an educated man, like all of us, we're somewhat educated, some more than others. How do you learn Nilesh Shama when you go to the university? How do you learn? Well, I'll give the answer, not like some people, like some people do. They ask a question, they give the answer, like me sometimes. You do it by listening. You don't sit in the classroom and give your own commentary. No, you listen. And the other thing that you do, Nilesh, is you also repeat what the professor says. Not only do you repeat him, you follow his directions if you're a surgeon, how to operate on the person. Some people are innovative. Okay, they can do it without that. But the process is you hear and you repeat without change. And that's how you get your degree. You don't get the degree by going in and making up a new paper and showing it to the professor and saying, here, I know what you taught me, but I think this is a better way. D. You get a D. You have to follow in the footpaths of the professor or teacher. This principle is the same in Krishna consciousness. The only difference is the focus. We're focusing on Krishna, not on Maya. And this requires discipline. And disciple means discipline. And if you want to be a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, yes, we're in the business, let's say, not of money business, of making devotees. Yes, our goal is that. And today we're going to, I asked Rupa Goswami to put up the slide that I wrote, or we wrote, let's say, on the rules regarding initiation, because there was a question last week from Vivek. Rupa Goswami, do you have that slide from the Google documents? And he'll get it, hopefully. And I'll read them through quickly, and then we'll move to the class. But those are the rules. Yes, you see them? Anyway, unfortunately...
You want me to share something on the Akshahoni Sena, Prabhuji?
Do you have it? The rules?
Akshahoni Sena. Not the rules.
No, forget them, just our rules. Because it's related to how we will accept new people as disciples, but they have to follow the rules. And I'll just briefly say them. Obviously, we follow the 4 regulated principles. Rupa Goswami, can you find that, please? You have to follow the 4 regulated principles, and you have to chant your rounds, Hare Krishna, every day, 16 rounds. And then, here we are, thank you. So, letter of referral submitted to the Prabhupada Disciples Association from a member of the Hare Krishna Society or other association, promoting Srila Prabhupada as the sole Diksha Guru, verifying the authenticity of the candidate as very serious and sincere in his request for initiation. 2, the candidate, when they submit an application to the PDA Brahminical Council, providing some background on his devotional or her devotional career and why he wants to become a Prabhupada disciple. If the candidate is approved by the PDA HKS, then they will be invited to participate in an online review. This is something like becoming a secretary, and you go on to review of the Senate. Hey, Dharma Bhavana, Kash Patel, he had to go into that he just got voted in today. When the applicant must attend the weekly online Zoom classes. Yes, 3. Hare Krishna Society for a minimum of 6 months prior to initiation. Why do we do that? Because we don't know the person. But if they come to the class, they get to know us, we get to know them, and on we go. To become familiar with the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, according to Srila Prabhupada's instructions, and explain correctly to the candidate by HKS PDA, because it's our group. We don't know how a lot of these other groups, they explain it incorrectly. Now, we're not going to go over that today, Dasa Avatar. We're not here for that, but I'm saying there are different groups, Ritvik so-called groups or Prabhupada, they see things differently than we do. We're very specific, and we're guided by the chief devotees in our group. And we have a senior editor who is extremely astute, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, in these matters. And therefore, we work as a team to be able to understand what is correct and what is incorrect. The candidate will follow our 4 regulated principles of no meat eating, no intoxication, no illicit sex life, and no gambling. And he will submit a daily schedule of his regulated program. Dharma Bhavana, see that? The candidate will critically study and read the unedited versions of Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, Sri Upanishad, Nectar of Devotion, nectar of devotion, and nectar of instruction. So the reason these other books are not included, because that's for second initiation. Of course, you can read these other books, Caitanya-caritāmṛta and Srimad Bhagavatam. But initially, we're saying, okay, learn these first initial books, and then that's okay. The candidate will also chant 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra for 6 months prior to approval. No different than when Prabhupada was accepting disciples during his manifested presence, Bhakti-Ryan. 6, a Bhakti Shastri test, the same one originally given by Srila Prabhupada in the past, will be completed by the candidate. And that's sent over to the person. After they went through this process, that's sent over to them from our office, and then they submit the paper back, and then Yaśodā-nanda will review it. And therefore, we get an idea of the attitude of the person or the understanding of him. 7, the candidate will then be interviewed by 3 members of the PDA Brahminical Council online. Yes. We want to interview people because a lot of times we get involved with these people that come forward, they want to get initiated, and then 6 or 7 months or a year go by, we don't do a careful review of them, and they bloop, they disappear. We try to get going. This was happening, Ram Raghava, when we used to run the temples. Yeah, you'd initiate somebody, like a year later he bloop or go somewhere else or decide to do something else, and then, what was the point? It was a mistake. We want to avoid those mistakes if possible. Number 8, on approval by the members of the council, so after the Brahminical Council meeting with them, we go through a series of questions and exchange with the person, just to get an idea. Look in their face, look in their eyes, hear what they have to say. Then we get an idea. Yes, and then it's approved by them. Or they may say, oh, you'll have to go another 6 months, Ram Raghava. Not now. You're not ready. You're not ready. You're not serious. Oh, what do you mean I'm not serious? Well, you're not approved. How about that? You're not fired, you're just not approved. Upon approval by the members of the council, the initiation date and ceremony will be set. And 9, a set of japa beads will be submitted by mail and chanted on by the Ritvik priest. In our case, it's Yaśodā-nandana Dāsa doing the program for us, and returned to the candidate. A spiritual name will be awarded to the applicant. The initiation ceremony will be organized by the PDA Brahminical Council in cooperation with the persons who recommend the person for initiation. And number 12, go ahead, devotional service will be given specifically to each new Prabhupada disciple in support of the mission of HKS, PDA, and the candidate's local leadership group. So there's a relationship between all of the parties, those that have recommended you and the persons that have approved you. And then you get some service. Like, for example, I was very happy. I see online we have Bhakti-Ryan. And I had a phone call with him this week, and we talked about some service. It wasn't about this, but it was about service, because I had asked someone in the group if you could come forward and do research and development for us, because we're working on different books and articles. And he's taken up the responsibility of researching the DOMs. And then we're going to go ahead and develop some literature like that with his help and others, of course. And 13, the initiate will sign an oath of allegiance to HKS, PDA, and their local sponsor. So that's another document that we've created. We're not going to read it tonight, but it basically says that we're all going to work together as a team. That's all. It's like Prabhupada used the example of the sticks, bamboo sticks, tied together, become a weapon. One stick can be easily broken. If you've been in India, Dasa Avatar, you know, you get a piece of bamboo, you can crack it, it breaks in half. But get 5 and bind them, it'll break your neck. So we become a weapon when we work together cooperatively to serve the mission of Srila Prabhupada. So I've got some other things to talk about later in our panel discussion, but we'll move ahead with the Caitanya-caritāmṛta reading and discussion led by our friend in California. I hope the weather's better there than here, because here we're snowed in, man. Yeah, man, and it's not Jamaica. You're talking Ontario. There's like snow everywhere. God. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all glories to all of you for attending this evening's very intriguing reading of Caitanya-caritāmṛta. We'll have the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava and then the discussion. Hare Krishna.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Namācārya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasādi Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giridham ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Navadvip Dham ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Jamuna Mai ki jai, Tulasi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Swami Bhaktivedanta ki jai. All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya. Narayanam namaskritya. Naram chaiva narottamam. Naram chaiva narottamam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Devim saraswatim vyasam. Tato jayam mudirayat. Tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Naranarayana Rishi, who is the supremmost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. As we do every week, we will be reciting a few verses from the Adi-lila chapter 1, from text 18-22, which describes the meaning and the benefit of hearing this powerful transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityānanda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityānanda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Etina Thakur Gadiya ke karye chenayat masat. Etinera Charana Bandhan Tire Morinat. These 3 deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Grantera Rambi Karimangala Charana Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Tinera Smaraneai Vigna Vinashana Anayaseai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Semangala Charanai Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Shirabhada Namaskara. The invocation involved 3 processes defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. It should be Simangala Charanoi Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Shirvada Namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benediction, and offering obeisances. We will proceed with our selected section of verses. Today we will be reading from Adi Lila chapter 5, text number 85. It should be noted that all synonyms, translations, and purports are by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text 85. Yadyapi sarvashrayatin ho tanhati samsara antaratmana rupitin ho jagadhadara. Yadyapi, although, sarva ashraya, the shelter of everything, tinho, he, the Lord, tanhati, in him, samsara, the material creation, anta atmarupi, in the form of the supersoul, tinho, he, jagat adhara, the support of the whole creation. Translation. Although the Lord is the shelter of everything, and although all the universes rest in him, he, as the supersoul, is also the support of everything. Text number 86. Prakriti sahiti tandra ubai sambandha tatapi prakriti saha nahi sparshagandha. Prakriti sahite, with the material energy, tandra, his, ubhaya sambandha, both relationships, tatapi, still, prakriti saha, with the material nature, nahi, there is not, sparshagandha, even the slightest contact. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Although he is thus connected with the material energy in two ways, he does not have the slightest contact with it. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. In the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami, commenting upon the Lord's transcendental position beyond the material qualities, says that Vishnu, as the controller and superintendent of material nature, has a connection with the material qualities. That connection is called yoga. However, the person who directs a prisoner is not also a prisoner. Similarly, although the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu directs or supervises the qualitative nature, he has no connection with the material modes of nature. The expansions of Lord Vishnu always retain their supremacy. They are never connected with the material qualities. One may argue that Mahavishnu cannot have any connection with the material qualities, because if he were so connected, Srimad Bhagavatam would not state that material nature, ashamed of her thankless task of acting to induce the living entities to become averse to the Supreme Lord, remains behind the Lord in shyness. In answer to this argument, it may be said that the word guna means regulation. Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are situated within this universe as the directors of the three modes, and their connection with the modes is known as yoga. This does not indicate, however, that these personalities are bound by the qualities of nature. Lord Vishnu specifically is always the controller of the three qualities. There is no question of his coming under their control. Although the causal and element supplying features exist in material nature by dint of the glance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord is never affected by glancing over the material qualities. By the will of the Supreme Lord, the different qualitative changes in the material world take place, but there is no possibility of material affection, change, or contamination for Lord Vishnu. Text number 87. Eta dishanamishatya prakritisto api tadgunai nayujyate sadatmaster yata buddhistadasraya etat. This is Ishanam, opulence, Ishasya, of the Lord, Prakritista, within this material world, Api, although, Tadgunai, by the material qualities, Nayujyate, never affected, Sada, always, Atmastayi, situated in his own energy, Yata, as also, Buddhi, intelligence, Tat, his, Ashraya, devotees. Translation. This is the opulence of the Lord. Although situated within the material nature, he is never affected by the modes of nature. Similarly, those who have surrendered to him and have fixed their intelligence upon him are not influenced by the modes of nature. Purport. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:11-38. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityānanda Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Bandhanam Khadyam Guru Bandhana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadate Visheshatah Adadana Dantaridham Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhojadulisyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadaso Asmi Saravata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Presta Sadkaromisvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityānanda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We find in Srila Prabhupada's teachings in his Vani incarnation many references and explanations of the process of creation. Now, this is a very important point because we do know, as we've discussed before, that for many thousands upon thousands of years, many people, philosophers, religionists, intelligent persons, have inquired or speculated upon the process of creation. Everybody is aware of the current modern theory of a Big Bang, that the creation started with some kind of Big Bang. And when Srila Prabhupada many times would ask, well, what created the Big Bang? The end of discussion. They cannot explain. In a discussion with another scholar of a particular religious denomination, The person says, well, in our book, it says that in the beginning there was the word. Prabhupada said, yes, in the Vedas, that word is Om. That is the beginning of everything. And we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya-caritāmṛta, or the entire process, the entire systematic process of creation is given in considerable details in how the living entities are born according to their previous karma. Now, there are a lot of references in Srila Prabhupada's writings, and it's explained in a very simple way. Now, we've discussed this last week with reference to a text called the Sattvata Samhita. This is quoted by Srila Prabhupada in his Bhagavad Gita Purport, Chapter 7. I believe it's text number 5, but we'll locate it here. See what we can find. Chapter 7, text number 4. Prabhupada refers to Mahavishnu. Let me just get the actual Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7. Chapter 7, text number 4. Bhumirapo naro vayuhu kammano buddhirevacha ahamkara itiyamme binna prakritirashtada. Earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport, the science of God analyzes the constitutional position of God and his diverse energies. Material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in his different Purusha incarnations, expansions, as described in the Sattvata Tantra. Actually, it's a typing mistake there. It's Sattvata Tantra. Vishnustu Trinirupani Purushakyani Yato Viduhu Ekantu Mahatah Sarastri Dvitiyam Tvandasam Stitam Tritiyam Sarvabhutastam Tani Gyatva Mivuchyati. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes 3 Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy known as Mahat Tattva. The second, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Kshirodakashaya Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma, who is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these 3 Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. Prabhupada continues, this material world is a temporary manifestation of one of the energies of the Lord. All the activities of the material world are directed by these 3 Vishnu expansions of Lord Krishna. These Purushas are called incarnations. Generally, one who does not know the science of God, Krishna, assumes that this material world is for the enjoyment of the living entities, and that the living entities are the causes, Purushas, controllers and enjoyers of the material energy. According to Bhagavad Gita, this atheistic conclusion is false. In the verse under discussion, it is stated that Krishna is the original cause of the material manifestation. Srimad Bhagavatam also confirms this. The ingredients of the material manifestation are separated energies of the Lord. Even the Brahma Jyoti, which is the ultimate goal of the impersonalist, is a spiritual energy manifested in the spiritual sky. There are no spiritual diversities in Brahma Jyoti, as there are in the Vaikuntha Lokas. And the impersonal accepts this Brahma Jyoti as the ultimate eternal goal. The Paramatma manifestation is also a temporary, all-pervasive aspect of the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. The Paramatma manifestation is not eternal in the spiritual world. Therefore, the factual absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. He is the complete energetic person, and he possesses different separated and internal energies. Now, this is very important because we see in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, in the description in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 1 and 2, starting with the verse Jagrihe Paurasham Rupam, there's a further explanation in more detail by Srila Prabhupada of this creation sequence, because it's very important for devotees to be aware and explain this process. We are not sentimentalists. Everything is described. It is not simply some sentiment. Well, there was some word. Well, that's nice. That's very good. That's a very nice sentiment. What was the word? How did the world become manifested? How did the human beings come about? How did the varieties of living beings come about? The animals, the aquatics, the birds, the beasts, the demigods, this entire cosmic manifestation, the different planets, all the different seasons. Everything is explained scientifically and chronologically in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I keep referring to that section, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 1 and 2. There's very good explanation in there. Now, how does it happen? It is explained in the Brahma Samhita, Chapter 5, where the actual, oh, here we go, the actual text of Srimad Bhagavatam. Thank you. Sutta Goswami said, in the beginning of the creation, the Lord first expanded himself in the universal form of the Purusha incarnation and manifested all the ingredients for the material creation. And thus, at first, there was the creation of the 16 principles of material action. This was for the purpose of creating the material universe. And Prabhupada goes on explaining the actual process, the sequence of the process, from Krishna expanding himself as Lord Balarama, and then as the Chaturvyuha, then the Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, everything. Everything is given there. I strongly suggest and humbly suggest to anyone who is attending this program or listening to it at home that they should very carefully these two texts to understand the sequence of creation. In text number 2 of chapter 3, it is described, a part of the Purusha lies down within the water of the universe. This is a description of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. From the navel lake of his body sprouts a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower atop this stem, Brahma, the master of all engineers in the universe, becomes manifested. Prabhupada explains in a purport, the first Purusha is the Karano Dakashaya Vishnu. From his skin holes, innumerable universes have sprung up. In each and every universe, the Purusha enters as the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He is lying within the half of the universe, which is full with the water of his body. And from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu has sprung the stem of the lotus flower, the birthplace of Brahma, who is the father of all living beings and the master of all the demigod engineers, engaged in the perfect design and working of the universal order. Within the stem of the lotus seed of the lotus, there are 14 divisions of planetary systems, and the earthly planets are situated in the middle. Upwards, there are other better planetary systems, and the topmost system is called Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Downwards from the earthly planetary system, there are 7 lower planetary systems inhabited by the Asuras and similar other materialistic materialistic living beings. Now, this is again very important. Again, Prabhupada goes on, from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, there is expansion of the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the collective Paramatma of all living beings. He is called Hari, and from him, all incarnations within the universe are expanded. Therefore, the conclusion is that the Purusha avatar is manifested in three features. First, the Karanodakshayi, who creates aggregate material ingredients in the Mahatattva. Second, the Garbhodakashayi, who enters in each and every universe. And third, the Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, who is the Paramatma of every material object, organic or inorganic. One who knows these plenary features of the personality of Godhead knows Godhead properly, and thus the knower becomes freed from the material conditions of birth, death, old age, and disease, as it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. In this shloka, the subject matter of Mahavishnu is summarized. The Mahavishnu lies down in some part of the spiritual sky by his own free will. Thus, he lies on the ocean of Karana, from where he glances over his material nature, and the Mahatattva is at once created. Thus, electrified by the power of the Lord, the material nature at once creates innumerable universes, just as in due course a tree decorates itself with innumerable grown fruits. The seed of the tree is sown by the cultivator, and the tree or creeper in due course becomes manifested with so many fruits. Nothing can take place without a cause. The Karana ocean is therefore called the causal ocean. Karana means causal. We should not foolishly accept the atheistic theory of creation. The description of the atheist is given in the Bhagavad Gita. The atheist does not believe in the creator, but he cannot give a good theory to explain the creation. Material nature has no power to create without the power of the Purusha, just as a Prakriti or woman cannot produce a child without the connection of a Purusha or man. The Purusha impregnates and the Prakriti delivers. We should not expect milk from the fleshy bags on the neck of a goat, although they look like breastly nipples. Similarly, we should not expect any creative power from the material ingredients. We must believe in the power of the Purusha who impregnates Prakriti or nature. So in this way, Prabhupada describes in considerable detail the sequence of the creation. For those of you who are interested in looking or studying these various, I suggest you go on Vanupedia.com and type in the word creation or Mahavishnu, and there are so many different entries that Prabhupada discusses with regards to all of these transcendental processes of creation, starting from Mahavishnu to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu to Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for those references from Srila Prabhupada. And it brings to mind the idea of, or understanding that this is the descending process of knowledge. So there are two types of knowledge. There's the ascending process, which is based on empirical research and study. And then there is revelation, or the descending process of knowledge. And we can see by today's reading how detailed all of the information is about creationism. And I did mention the other day that in Christianity, Nilesh, it's interesting to note that they say God is great. Yes, he's omnipotent. There's a couple of key words that Catholicism uses when they're indoctrinating, maybe that's unfair, teaching the students in the schools how to understand God. And they'll say things like, He's omniscient. He's all-knowing. He's omnipresent. He's everywhere. He's all-powerful, omnipotent. But no real explanation of how God is everywhere. And the other mysteries of the creation of the Supreme Lord in their Shastra. When you look at the Bible, there are some very valuable lessons there, yes, on how to live a moral life, absolutely. And that is important for people to rise above the animal platform. Because really, unless you're somewhat disciplined, then you're under the influence of the modes of nature. Primarily, too, passion and ignorance. Some people function in the mode of goodness, but most people, they're in the modes of passion and ignorance. And this disqualifies them from understanding higher truths. What have we got here, Nilesh?
You were talking about the ascending and the descending process.
Yeah,
This
go
is
ahead.
what Prabhupada
Read it
explains.
out. Read it out.
This is what Prabhupada explains. Give me 1 second. Yeah. In lecture of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 13, I've already explained that our process of accepting knowledge is the parampara system. I'm reading the highlight. Okay.
Yes.
And our process is accepting the knowledge is parampara system, avaroha pantha. There are two ways of acquiring knowledge, aroha pantha and avaroha pantha. Knowledge coming from authorities, that is perfect knowledge, which is avaroha pantha. And knowledge acquired by experimental knowledge, that is not perfect, which is aroha pantha, because we are imperfect.
So this is the system of attaining knowledge on the transcendental platform. It is a revelation by the grace of the Lord through his representatives. And in the case of Christianity, we had Jesus Christ. And recently I've been getting some familiarity with the Bible a little bit. Some people are speaking to me about it, and I'm getting some familiarity. But you realize that they explain that God is great, but they don't explain how he's great. Why is it he is able to expand himself as Paramatma? And Prabhupada says like this, Nilesh, he says, and Krishna is everything, everywhere, and Krishna knows everything. Now, you could think about that. You say, I don't see God. How is it that that's possible? Like we're all sitting here. We're absorbed in our own consciousness, individual consciousness. But are we really aware that Krishna is with us right now? Well, someone may hear, I'm certainly not fully conscious that God is present as the supersoul in my heart. No. That's only possible by discipline. That is the business of a disciple. Not only discipline, sacrifice. You have to sacrifice everything. Like Prabhupada, as we've been reading, Nilesh, in the diaries. Prabhupada sacrificed everything. I mean, think about it. He left his family. And he had a fairly large family. He went to Vrindavan. He lived in Radha Damodar temple. He had no money. He came to America with nothing. He came with a couple of trunks of books, 200 sets of the Delhi Bhagavatams, only on the hope that he could sell them. That's how book distribution evolved, because Prabhupada was printing books and selling the books and getting some money, reinvesting it in the propagation of the mission. But he didn't keep it for himself. It's interesting, Nilesh. Think about it. I noticed one thing when Prabhupada came to Toronto. He showed up and he had his servant with him, Hari Sori. And his suitcase was this little plastic suitcase with a few possessions in it. That was it. He didn't show up with all kinds of fancy luggage. And I've heard some devotees, they want to get these designer luggage. They're going to be sannyas, so they go, and Krishna Kata told me that story. There was a devotee in San Diego, he's going to get sannyas, so he wants to get fancy luggage because he's going to travel all the time. Excuse me? Is that service and sacrifice, full surrendered, or fancy luggage? So the qualification of a devotee for advancement is his surrender, not anything else. And this is, I jotted down a few points before we pass the ball back over to our godbrother Yaśodā-nandana. It's interesting to note that in the society that Prabhupada created, there are so many people that have risen up into prominent positions. And unfortunately, they also have increased their bank balances. Yes. And in some cases to hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, someone could say, well, how's that possible? Well, Ram Raghava, think about it like this. As you having heritage from India, people accumulate wealth at large amounts. Especially in India, I still am friends with the Hinduja family, Gopichand Hinduja and Sri Chand Hinduja. Unfortunately, Sri Chand passed away, but Gopichand. And Nilesh, you may be familiar with their name. They own steel plants in Korea. They have a Swiss bank. They have office towers in London, and they've got all kinds of hospitals and property, and they're billionaires. They used to come to Toronto. We would drive around in my car. I'd show them houses they wanted to buy in rich neighborhoods. They bought a $10 million condo, which I went and did the fire sacrifice for. So I knew them. And I realized these people are very rich. Now, it's possible, guru-disciple relationship, that a disciple of a fake guru, for example, may give that guru tens of millions of dollars. Do they disclose it? Do they? Even in the US government, now they're finding out that a lot of these people that were politicians, they make a salary of Ryan of $150,000 or $200,000. They're in government most of their career. And then when they're retiring, they look at their net worth, there's $80 million. Excuse me, how the heck did you get $80 million when you had no money? You were working, you had to pay bills when you were working. Is it was all speaking engagements? Yeah, sure. Sure, like Ukraine and this Biden character, Hunter Biden going to Ukraine, and all of a sudden he's getting so much money per month, et cetera, et cetera. We're not, I'm paralleling it to the ISKCON deep state. That's the point. It's not the politicians we are concerned about, but how much money, I'm asking Nilesh, do you think they have? Make a guess. I say hundreds of millions, period. Not a joke. Is it being disclosed? No. Is there a Doge there? Is that what it's called? Investigating? No, they don't allow investigation, Ram Raghava. They don't allow discussion. I put that little comment there in the chat. They don't have dialogue. They don't. And if you bring it up, they won't discuss it. Nowadays, it's all segregated. So the individuals are in their own little empires, their own private bank accounts. And why isn't that so many people see that there's been hundreds of millions of dollars collected in the Krishna Consciousness movement over the last 50 years or so, all the real estate acquisitions. Just think about how much they're worth or were worth if they weren't sold off. Where's all the money? What are they doing with it? Are they giving a fund to help devotees that sacrifice their lives, that maybe work 16 years in the society, and then if it doesn't work out, they just kick you out and go ahead. Figure out how to survive, mister. Is that the right way to be? No. Because there's a deep state there. There is a deep state of misinformation, cover-up, big cover-up. And this is unfortunate. And we, as a group, we're working towards not specifically our main goal, no. We're more interested in publishing and printing literatures. And we've got many projects, by the way, everyone. And I mentioned that Ryan is working on one. We have another book that Yaśodā has written on the Lilamrita and the defects in that book that we're going to be publishing. That's our goal. And other books of Prabhupada's as time goes on. No program right now because, everything requires lots of money, actually. You got to have money. And, gradually we're getting money, so things are going good. But this misinformation, this cover-up, this is going on a major scale in ISKCON, and no one is exposing it. No. But the U.S. government, good for them, they're marching around, they're going and discovering that there's $1 billion of money that's been siphoned by their membership with politicians that hardly make a regular salary every year, but somehow they have the money. And this is the way that this ISKCON movement has evolved. I'm sorry I kind of went off on this. I've been thinking about it, but at the same time, the information of Krishna consciousness has to be protected without changing the books. That's the point. Don't change anything. Try to live and show yourself as qualified to be a guru. Show yourself by your surrender that you are a Uttama-ācārya. It's interesting, people think, we have one of our godbrothers. He goes, well, at least I'm an authorized Kanishta-ācārya. Well, who announced that you're a Kanishta-ācārya? He announced it to the world. These people are announcing themselves that they're Uttama-ācāryas, and they're not. This is bogus. Completely hypocrisy, misrepresentation, and this is very unfortunate. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, if you could further.
Well, thank you for these various comments. We're gonna have a section every time in the last part of the program where we're gonna read briefly from this Lilamrita review, basically explaining the unique and special position of Srila Prabhupada. It should be noted that originally, much of this was compiled by Jadurani and Kailash Chandra Das and other devotees, but it was reformatted and re-edited in Badger, California in 1993. Okay, this essay is dedicated to the lotus feet of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, Founder-Ācārya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, on the auspicious occasion of his centennial anniversary celebration, 1896-1996. His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee of Lord Krishna always, being an eternally liberated associate of the Lord. He did not have a material past at any time. Being an associate of Lord Sri Krishna, he is properly understood to never have been contaminated by the material energy. As we knew him, his so-called material body was not at all material. Heat, cold, happiness, and distress, hunger and thirst, birth, disease, old age, and death never touched him. It is not correct to say or even think that he felt or suffered these mundane influences and pains in a mood of tolerance. He never even felt them according to the scriptures. There are two types of pure devotees. One, the neophyte pure devotee, sadhaka, and two, the perfect pure devotee, parishat. Such pure devotees, this is from Caitanya-caritāmṛta, here we go. Such pure devotees are of two types, personal associates, parishat, and neophyte devotees, sadhakas, purport. Perfect servitors are considered as personal associates, whereas devotees endeavoring to attain perfection are called neophytes, from Adilila 164. Generally, ever-liberated personalities live in the spiritual world as associates of Lord Krishna, and they are known as Krishna Parishada, associates of the Lord. Their only business is enjoying Lord Krishna's company, even though such eternally liberated persons come within this material world to serve the Lord's purpose. They enjoy Lord Krishna's company without stoppage. We'll leave it at that for now. And on Saturday morning, we will be reading a few more paragraphs from this compilation. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Yes, and understand how Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, is coming from the spiritual platform of existence. He's not a mundane soul. Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas, and we'll move into the discussion with our group.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Beautiful class today. Our respectful obeisance to all the devotees. Yeah, we were talking a lot today about the situation of the personality of Godhead coming to the material world, but not being under the material modes of nature. And also the Shakti avatar like Srila Prabhupada coming in and not being under the material modes of nature, living in the spiritual world all the time. And something has happened in the last few years, few months, and especially even the last few days, which it seems like to me helps to solve all the problems of like the book changes and so many other issues all in one. And that is that devotees are trying to understand Prabhupada's disappearance pastime. Somebody may say, oh, he's a Bengali, he's an old person, he's senile. So these kind of attacks have been going on, but now the devotees are trying to understand this more and more on Facebook and other different types of podcasts. It seems to me like almost like the beginning of the golden age, to where if these discussions can take place and devotees can really, really understand how much mercy and tolerance Prabhupada had and how much we are dependent upon him, it will really make a difference in the world going, again, forward for the next 9,000, 10,000 years. That's just a few comments I had. Thank you for your class today. Very nice.
Okay, let's see. Let's read this Yaśodā from Rupa Goswami. Lord Krishna's death being caused by the arrow of a hunter. Thakur Haridas being caned in 22 markets, or Lord Jesus Christ being purified, are all acts of the Lord personally. We cannot always understand the intricacies of such incidents. Sometimes they are enacted to bewilder persons who are demons. You should therefore discuss in the Istigosi, yes, you should therefore discuss in the Istigosi, hold on here. Cannot understand. I've lost my way. From current reading matters from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. We should not only try to understand everything from the standard of devotional service. It is stated clearly in the Bhagavad Gita that anyone who is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord is transcendently situated, and the influence of Maya has no more any action on such body. The Lord and his pure devotee are always beyond the range of Mayan's actions, even though they appear the actions of Maya. We should understand their action of Yoga Maya or the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. So people that try to speculate, as been in the case in the biography that was written by one of our godbrothers, do misrepresent Prabhupada's position, and this is serious. You cannot minimize the pure devotee and his power. You can only understand it by full surrender. That's the only way. By complete, absolute surrender to the service of the pure devotee. And in this way, he will be revealed to you through that process. Neil Shama in somewhere, the warm weather. Hare Krishna, you got your hand up already. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada. My question is to Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu is, Vishwakarma Prabhu has been talking about how the so-called Uttam Adhikaris are accumulating so much wealth, so much money. And what has money and its role to do in Krishna consciousness, number one? And in the same breath, we as a association are trying to create some books and some literature, explaining different things. And that also requires money. So what is the real role of money in Krishna consciousness? If you can kind of expand on that and explain, especially for our newcomers, as to what is wrong with some people accumulating millions and millions of dollars, and what is wrong when we are trying to accumulate some money, or even if we got that money, what would we do with it? And what is the correct way to deal with wealth and Krishna consciousness?
Yaśodā.
Okay, that's a very good question. First of all the money in the world belongs to Krishna. All the Lakshmi belongs to Lord Narayana, to Krishna. Now, it's very, very important to remember that for millions of years in the material world, people are staying in this world because of attachment to women and money. Of course, nowadays it's even more complex if people get attached to young boys and underage girls and all kinds of nonsense behaviors. So the conditioning of material existence is there. Like when we study the Bhagavatam in the first canto, the story of Maharaj Parikshit and the personality of Kali. The personality of Kali, when he was banished, he requested, well, send me somewhere where I can have some gold, some money to facilitate his desires for sense gratification. In other words, money can be the source of conditioning, and money can also be the source of liberation. Money should be used for Krishna. That's why we see in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna described Yat Karosi Adashnasi, that everything you do, everything you offer, give it to me. Krishna is the supreme proprietor. We see in the chapter 5 of Bhagavad Gita, Bhuktaram Yajnatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. Krishna describes, I am the controller of all the planets of all the world. All the money in the world belongs to God. It belongs to Krishna, and it should be used for the service of Krishna. And this is one of the problems that's happened to our movement, is the hijacking of the temples, the hijacking of the economy of the movement under the plea that, we were appointed as so-called successors of so-called appointed gurus. And this was the justification for these people to start their guru business, unfortunately. But the money to really expand the movement in a pure way. Unfortunately, it's like it was described, whether or not there is hundreds of millions of dollars, we don't know because there's no transparency. Do you have an answer to all where the money went, especially since 1977? You probably don't. I don't. Vishwakarma does not. But a lot of people are asking you a question. Where is all the money that's being collected? Where is all that money going? There should be transparency. It should be used for the specific purposes that Prabhupada has given, and also to take care of the devotees. We regularly hear, I see on my email or Facebook account, I hear different reports of such and such devotee is suffering, such and such devotee after rendering so much service doesn't have enough money for health care or accommodation. Why? Why is it that the movement, the society, does not take care of its devotees? That is unfortunate. So the point is, the money should be used for Krishna. And if people do not want to disclose the money they have collected, that brings up a lot of red flags, a lot of question mark. Very important. Just a few comments. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, one corollary is that how does accumulation of wealth correlate to the status of being an Uttamadhikari?
There is no correlation, absolutely none. Because some of, like, for example, Haridas Thakur, he had nothing. And he was the Acharya of the holy name. So spiritual life is contingent on renunciation. Remember, Prabhu, you accumulate money when you're a grihasta generally. If you're a brahmachari, you're not accumulating. If you're a sannyasi, you're supposed to be materially dead. Are you familiar with that term? Materially dead. You have nothing. Nirmama, nothing is mine. So when a sannyasi, because we have a situation where sannyasis are accumulating money like that, that is against the rules of the sannyas order. It's not part of the practice of a sannyasi, where he's claiming to be renunciate, and at the same time, for example, one of my godbrothers, he has a house in Vrindavan. It came to light that he just spent $30,000 on the renovation of his bathroom. Okay, that's his choice. He is independent free will. But generally what you do, especially as a sannyasi, is you dovetail all the money in Krishna's service. In our particular case, we need millions of dollars for reproducing the original books. Are they being done? No. Why? Well, there's lots of confusion over that. We've already gone over that, so we don't need to repeat it right now. But the fact of the matter is there a plan? Is there a collection coming from any of these groups? These other independent groups that have 10, 15, 30, 40. One guru has 75,000 disciples. And the principle of that disciple-guru relationship is that all your money belongs to the guru. That's how they look at it. Actually, there's a rule. Nilesh, you're familiar. It's divided into 3. 50% of your money should be used to spread Krishna consciousness. 25% set aside for your relatives. 25% set aside for your maintenance and sustenance, like that. So that's a formula. Actually, Prabhu, it's interesting to note I'm working with a person right now who's preparing for death. It's quite disturbing, actually. And that's basically it. It's disturbing. And at the same time, I'm reading in the Nectar of Devotion about charity, how devotees should be charitable. Now, real charity means to dovetail the money in the service of Krishna. That's what it is. It doesn't mean that money is bad. if you accumulate money, you should engage it properly. Invest it so that you get eternal benefit. For example, this person has a few $1,000,000. They're not super rich, but they have some money. Okay, fair enough. But what are they doing with their money? Well, they're giving it to their relatives. Now, I'm thinking about it. I'm going, is that going to help you? If you're going to pass away next week, is it going to help you in the grand scheme of things if you take that money and just give it off to your family? And what are they going to do with it? Who knows? So some people get it, some people don't. That's what I say. Some people get this philosophy. Look at when Prabhupada was in Toronto, Prabhu, okay? I was in the room and we were having a meeting at the time. Prabhupada was trying to help the devotees buy the Fisher Mansion in Detroit. By the way, the Fisher Mansion sold for $300,000. Did you know that? And not only did it sell for $300,000, Prabhupada said one room cost $300,000 to build. That was a $50 million mansion they bought for $300,000. 50 million. I was fortunate enough to go there when we installed the Aditis. I brought them from Jefferson Avenue. I was in the van. I helped carry them into the temple there, the new temple, and for the preparation of the installation. So that was a pastime that I was blessed with. But the point is this. When Prabhupada was in Toronto, we tried to buy the Avenue Road Church, Nilesh. And Prabhupada he talked to us, and at the time, Jagadish and Uddhava Shloka, they were angling to get it, but they had no money. No money. So Prabhupada called up Romeshwar in LA. I remember clearly being in the room, sitting in the room. And Prabhupada asked Romeshwar, how much money do I have in the BBT? He asked, because Prabhupada was accumulating money. And the answer was, we have $300,000. And Prabhupada said, okay. And he had Jagadish prepare an offer for $300,000. He was going to take all of the money out of the BBT and buy the Toronto temple for us. Think about it. He was not attached to money. He was attached only to one thing, complete surrender of everything to the mission of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. These are real stories. This is not fiction or fantasy or lies or misrepresentations. So that's how some understanding of how we might want to engage money in Krishna service. What have you got here, brother? You've got a lecture of 8:22.
Yes, this is a lecture on Bhagavad Gita in New York.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I like this one part which Prabhupada has a discussion with one of the attendees of the part, where they're talking about this material world, and especially in relationship with Uttamadhikari and his accumulation of wealth. And so here, I like this, is that Prabhupada writes over here, says, material world is full of suffering and miseries. Don't you understand? Are you happy? Student, sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm not. Prabhupada, no, you are not happy. That sometimes is your imagination, just like a diseased man says, oh yes, I am well. What is that well? He's going to die and he is well? Student, I don't claim any ultimate happiness. No, you do not know what is happiness. So the happiness, real happiness, is lied on the transcendental realm. And for an Uttamadhikari, he has already experienced that transcendental happiness. And for him, any kind of material happiness is insignificant.
Yeah.
You can give this person $1 trillion.
Yeah.
And even the happiness which $1 trillion can get is pale, is nowhere compared to the transcendental happiness. So if you call yourself an Uttamadhikari, then there is no material amount or no material level which can even touch the transcendental happiness. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, I'd love to see your comments, Prabhuji.
Let me just make one comment. Sorry to cut you off, Yaśoda. I was out recently, Nilesh, in the grocery store 2 days ago. I met a friend of mine who's a very successful businessman. And we had chat. So I listened to him because he wanted to talk. Okay. And we have to be good listeners. That is the secret of whether you're Andrew Carnegie studying how to win friends and influence people, or going to whatever, you have to know how to listen. So I listened to him, and he was describing to me all the people that he used to know, that had died. Because we're at an age where a lot of us were getting sick. And then he was describing to me how much people are suffering. Whoa, it was just horrible to hear that. And it was tragic, actually. And Prabhupada told an interesting story. I was listening to a tape yesterday in the morning, and Prabhupada spoke about people that are suffering. And he said, people that are suffering, they think, oh, I'm suffering, I better I die than carry on with this suffering. Better I die. And Prabhupada says, I'm paraphrasing, he goes, but they don't realize because of their karma, they may die and go to a far worse place where they'll suffer. Suffering does not stop in this lifetime. And, you know, in the particular situation I'm talking about, where there's someone that's just on the verge, I'm thinking, what good is your money when you're dead? And if you don't dovetail it in Krishna's service, is it going to bind you further to this material world? And the answer is categorically yes, it will. It will entangle you maybe for millions of births, but yet people do not listen to the philosophy. Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, please, if you could wind up for us.
A very interesting point you're raising. Just 2 days ago, one good friend informed me that his brother died all of a sudden.
Oh.
And what I did is I explained to him that because you are a devotee, 7 generations, in some places it's 7 generations, other places it's 10 generations of your family members will always all be liberated in the past and in the future. Now, how that happens is a little beyond my limited brain, my bird brain, but it's very interesting. So another relative of this devotee says, oh, this only applied to a fully pure devotee. And I said, no, that applies to any devotee. You become a devotee, Krishna gives you special protection. And this is described in the Bhagavad Gita in that verse, Ananyas chintayanto mam, ye janaha paryupasate, tesam nitya biyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. To those who are surrendered unto me, I carry what they lack and preserve what they have. Krishna gives special protection for devotee. Of course, this should not be used as an excuse for slacking off on devotional practices or saying, oh, I'll fix my Krishna consciousness later, I'll do that later. No, one should try as much as possible to make as much spiritual advancement as possible in this lifetime, because another thing, we never know when that will take place. We never know. Let me give you an example. When we first went to Bangalore in 1972, we were collecting money for the Krishna Balaram temple construction in Vrindavan. So we went and saw a very wealthy man who was involved in the politics of at that time, the state of Karnataka was called Mysore. So he was involved in the higher levels of the government of Mysore. And Guru Kripa Swami told this person, you should become a life member today, do some service, because if you sacrifice your money, you're going to get great benefit from it in this life and next life. He says, well, I'll do it tomorrow. You come tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. Of course, we came tomorrow. What happened? All kinds of relatives were there crying, lamenting. The man died a few hours after we had been there. So nobody can predict when they're going to go. Of course, in the case of someone like Apakrita, I had spoken to him 2 days before because we would speak regularly in French in Montreal, but it happened all of a sudden. But he was always Krishna conscious. He was always chanting service, doing some service for Prabhupada. So we never know when that departure time will be there. But being a devotee, there is transcendental benefit to this process. Definitely. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, you're right. And, you know, we're moving to the end of the program, and thank you, everyone, for attending. Very direct discussion here on truth, not on mistruth. And it's interesting to note here, I see in the chat, Yaśodā, you iPhone to everyone, okay, whoever he is, and thank you for the information. Caitanya-caritāmṛta Dāsa, an ISKCON guru, yes, I'm familiar with him too, is the third richest person in Kazakhstan. He declared his source of income is from religious practice. Interesting, because it is a responsibility. When you run a charity, you have to disclose the donations that everyone receives. But here in this country, they don't. They hide. I know that. Kazakhstan, yeah. Here they hide. They hide it. And I have direct information of that. So this type of corruption, let me say, is very unfortunate, and it is totally un-Vaishnava. And we should work towards liberating that money in the printing of Prabhupada's books. Just think if we had hundreds of millions of dollars for spreading Krishna consciousness that is now in the private bank accounts of these so-called sannyasis, how much great work we could do. Huh? So it's something to think about, a lot to think about tonight as we move forward to the end of the program. And we look forward to seeing you on Saturday for the Bhagavad Gita As It Is class. We'll have some more in-depth discussions amongst our God brothers. And in this way, try to enjoy the transcendental bliss of knowledge that's unadulterated and unchanged by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, His Divine Grace in His Vani incarnation. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Let's have the chanting of Hare Krishna for 2 minutes and 54 seconds of the Hari Hari Bo led by Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the assembled Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and were full of compassion for the fallen souls. Thanks everybody for participating in this lively program. Thanks Vishwakarma Prabhu in snowy Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Rochester Mataji and totally overwhelmed with snow in Montreal, Canada. Ram Raghava in Georgia. I don't know how much snow you're getting there, but you're getting special blessings over there. Neil Shama Prabhu with the beautiful picture of the Panchatattva right behind his head, giving blessings to everyone. Bhakta Ryan, wherever you are. Rupa Goswami in Mumbai, India. Triloka Vijay in Alachua, Florida. Krishna Kata, we missed those Bhagavatams behind your head, but thank you for participating in San Diego, California. And we have Sri Chaitanya Sampradaya, our good friends in Mexico, or wherever they are, distributing books and chanting Hare Krishna in Central America, and Forest Temple in Mexico, wherever that is. All of you are always welcome. Thank you very much for participating. We invite all of you to come back on Saturday morning at 7:00 a.m., despite whatever material conditions and inconveniences, for the Bhagavad Gita reading, 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Saturday morning. Let us hear the transcendental sound of the Maha Mantra. Again, thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.